Let me tell you something that will set you free. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Some people don't deserve closure. They don't deserve a second chance. They don't even deserve a text back. All they deserve is distance, quiet, and the silence of your growth echoing in the background of their regret. You owe no explanation for evolving, for healing, for putting yourself first. Let them wonder, let them gossip, let them scroll through your life, trying to figure out where they lost access. Because the truth is, your peace doesn't require their permission. You were not born to keep proving your worth to people who can't even see it. So take the crown off their head and put it back where it belongs, on yours. You don't owe closure to chaos. Let that truth sink in, because we live in a world where we're taught to explain ourselves constantly. Why we walked away, why we stopped talking, why we changed. But here's the harsh and liberating truth. Not everyone deserves an explanation, especially not the people who created the very mess you're trying to heal from. Think about it. You wouldn't return to a fire and ask it why it burned you. You wouldn't go back to the storm and ask it to explain the thunder. So why do you feel the need to sit down with someone who disrespected you, betrayed you, lied to you, and give them the privilege of hearing your heart explain itself? That's not closure. That's emotional labor. And you are not a rehabilitation center for people who break others and call it love. Take a moment and recall that friend who disappeared when you needed them most. They ghosted you in your darkest hour, and when you started glowing again, they showed up curious, not caring. Curious about your strength, not your scars. And you thought you owed them a coffee conversation, or what happened between us. Closure chat. But why? So they can sleep peacefully while you reopen the wounds you worked so hard to close? No. Your peace isn't a gift you hand out to the people who shattered it. Or let's talk about relationships. The ones where you gave your all, but your all was never enough. The ones where you were constantly proving your worth, fighting for the bare minimum, begging for communication. And the day you finally chose yourself over the endless cycles of manipulation and emotional games, they suddenly wanted to talk. Not because they changed, but because they lost control. And now you feel guilty not answering that text, that call, that let's talk one last time message. Let me tell you something. If they didn't value your presence, they do not deserve the dignity of your explanation. Closure is something you give yourself. It's not a door they open for you. It's a door you slam shut, lock and walk away from. And walking away doesn't make you heartless, it makes you healed. It means your soul finally chose peace over performance. It means you understood that not everyone is entitled to the next chapter of your story. Let's bring it into daily life. Imagine standing in a long line at a store, waiting patiently, when someone cuts right in front of you. Do you waste your time explaining to them how unfair that was, hoping they see your side? Or do you step aside, get what you need, and walk away knowing your dignity isn't up for negotiation? Exactly. You don't debate with chaos. You remove yourself from it. And maybe you're that person who's always overthinking. What if they're struggling too? What if I hurt them by leaving? What if they don't understand? But ask yourself this. Did they think about your pain when they left you in confusion? Did they consider your peace when they played with your emotions? Or did they take your loyalty for granted until it broke? Closure is not a round-table discussion with someone who handed you pain and called it love. It's not a TED talk. explaining why you finally had enough. Closure is found in your silence, your growth, your boundaries. It's in the life you build when you finally choose to stop bleeding for people who never offered you a bandage. You don't owe closure to chaos. You owe yourself freedom, clarity, and the courage to move forward without dragging old explanations behind you like chains. Because the most powerful thing you can ever say is nothing. Just distance. Distance is a language. Speak it fluently. It's the language of self-respect, self-protection, and silent strength. And the most beautiful part? It doesn't scream, it doesn't beg, it doesn't explain, it simply speaks. Through absence, through growth, through evolution that happens out of reach from those who once held too much access to your soul. We're always taught to talk things out, to be available, to keep relationships from breaking, but no one teaches us the power of walking away, of going quiet, of putting space between our heart and the source of its wounds. But hear this loud and clear. Sometimes, silence is more powerful than 1,000 perfectly crafted words. Sometimes your absence is the most honest sentence you can ever speak. Imagine you're in a room full of noise, chaotic, overwhelming, drowning in sounds. You try to speak, to explain yourself, to be heard, but your voice is lost in the storm. Then you step out, you close the door, and suddenly, clarity. The noise isn't gone, but it's not yours to carry anymore. That's what distance does. It gives you back your peace. It gives you back you. You don't need to shout to be respected. You don't need to chase someone to prove your worth. The ones who genuinely value you will feel the weight of your silence more than they ever felt the sound of your voice. Let's talk about that coworker who constantly undermines your efforts. You've tried addressing it, staying professional, being the bigger person, but the energy remains toxic. So instead of confronting them endlessly, you take a step back. You limit interactions. You stop reacting, and suddenly they're uncomfortable, not because you were loud, but because your silence disrupted their pattern. That's fluent distance. That's strategic energy protection. Think about that old friend who always made jokes at your expense, who laughed when you cried, who clapped the loudest when you failed, but went quiet when you succeeded. And you kept them close, thinking history mattered more than harmony. But one day, you stopped picking up their calls, you stopped explaining your moves, you stopped seeking their approval. And that space you created, it didn't just protect you, it educated them. Because people often learn your value in your absence, not your presence. In love, it's even deeper. You give someone your vulnerability, your loyalty, your time, and they play games. They ghost, breadcrumb, manipulate. But instead of begging for clarity, instead of fighting for attention, you disappear, not as a game, as a declaration that your heart is not a playground, that you are no longer willing to dance for the bare minimum. It's you choosing peace over performance, healing over noise, growth over chaos. Let's take a simple daily example. You go to your favorite cafe. The barista gets your order wrong. Every single time. You've complained. You've tried being kind. Nothing changes. So one day, you stop going. You find a new place that respects your time, your preference. That's not being rude. That's choosing better. And better is always your right. This is the art of distance. It's you whispering, "No more," without even moving your lips. It's letting people feel your absence like an earthquake they never saw coming. It's not revenge. It's revelation. You don't need to justify why you stopped calling, why you stopped showing up, why you stopped trying. The distance is the explanation. It's the sentence, it's the answer, and it's always fluent. Protect your energy like royalty, because not everyone deserves access to your presence, your peace, or your power. You are not common. Your time, your love, your mind, it's a kingdom. And not everyone deserves a throne inside your life. When you stop treating yourself like an open door, you start realizing who truly deserves a key. Royalty doesn't explain why they close the gates. They don't beg people to stay inside the palace. They don't chase after those who disrespect the crown. And neither should you. Your energy is sacred. Your spirit is powerful. If someone consistently drains it, depletes it, questions it, then it's time to create boundaries that feel like velvet rope. Let them stand outside and wonder. That's not pride, that's protection. Think about this. You charge your phone every single day. If your battery is low, you don't hand it out to just anyone. You don't let someone open 50 apps on it while it's at 5%. You protect it because it's essential. But your soul, your energy, you let people use it without question. The friend who constantly complains but never listens. The relative who only calls to compare or criticize. The partner who pulls you into chaos and calls it passion. Why do they get unlimited access to your spirit? You wouldn't hand your crown to a thief. Don't hand your peace to chaos. There are people who will come into your life not to grow with you, but to feed off you. Emotional leeches, drama addicts, masters of manipulation, disguised as victims. And you, with your big heart, keep pouring attention, pouring advice, pouring love, until you're empty and they're still hungry. That's not connection, that's consumption. Let's bring it into daily life. Ever sat on a phone call for an hour with someone who talks endlessly about themselves, but the moment you speak they interrupt or suddenly have to go? That's not friendship. That's emotional robbery. And you keep paying the price. Or at work, there's always that co-worker who dumps their tasks on you, knowing you'll say yes. They play helpless. But it's not that they can't. It's that you always do. And slowly your own projects suffer. Your mental health declines, and they shine while you burn. Protect your energy. Say no without guilt. Say yes only when it's aligned. Because saying yes to everything is saying no to your own peace. In love, the same law applies. Protecting your energy is romantic. It's sexy. It's powerful. You don't have to overextend to prove you care. You don't have to lose sleep, dignity, or direction for someone who hasn't even earned your truth. Love isn't supposed to exhaust you. If you're constantly in recovery mode after each interaction, then your energy is under attack. And your silence, your boundaries, your space, that becomes your shield. Royalty doesn't attend every argument they're invited to. They don't respond to every insult. They don't walk into every room where they feel unwelcome. They walk where they are celebrated, not tolerated. Do the same. Protect your energy like you protect your dreams. Because without energy, you can't build, can't rise, can't evolve. The right people will honor your space, not question it. They'll water you, not drain you. They'll add peace, not problems. You were not born to be everything for everyone. You were born to be something. You don't have to overextend to prove you care. You don't have to lose sleep, dignity, or direction for someone who hasn't even earned your truth. Love isn't supposed to exhaust you. If you're constantly in recovery mode after each interaction, then your energy is under attack. And your silence, your boundaries, your space, that becomes your shield. Royalty doesn't attend every argument they're invited to. They don't respond to every insult. They don't walk into every room where they feel unwelcome. They walk where they are celebrated, not tolerated. Do the same. Protect your energy like you protect your dreams. Because without energy, you can't build, can't rise, can't evolve. The right people will honor your space, not question it. They'll water you, not drain you. They'll add peace, not problems. You were not born to be everything for everyone. You were born to be something powerful for the right ones. So start filtering your circle like a queen filters her court. If someone disrespects your boundaries once, educate them. Twice, remind them. Third time, exile them. You don't have to be cruel, but you must be clear. You are not required to entertain what disturbs your soul. Let your peace be your luxury. Let your joy be expensive. Let your energy be so protected that people think twice before stepping to you with chaos in their hands. People who drain you will never understand you. Not because you're complicated, but because they've never taken the time to truly see you. They don't want to understand you, they want to use you. Use your kindness, your silence, your forgiveness, your loyalty. They love the light you give, but they never ask what it costs you to keep shining. And when you finally dim that light to heal, they call you the problem. Let them. You see, there are people in this world who only come to take. They arrive like a storm and stay like a shadow. They pull from you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and then act confused when you're tired. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you've become cold. No, you've become conscious. You've realized that some people don't want love, they want attention. Some don't want to build, they want to break. And you're done being a source of energy for people who never show up with anything to give. Let's bring it into daily life. Imagine you're at a dinner table and everyone's eating from the plate you brought. But no one notices you haven't eaten. No one offers you anything in return. That's how emotional vampires work. They feed on your empathy. And the more you give, the hungrier they get. But the moment you set a boundary, they call it betrayal. Why? Because they were never there to love you. They were there to feed off you. Think of that friend who only calls you when they need advice. Never to check in. Never to uplift. They'll talk for hours about their problems, but if you speak for even 5 minutes, they change the subject. They don't listen. They wait for their turn to speak again. And you walk away from the conversation feeling more exhausted than empowered. That's not connection. That's exploitation. Or that relationship where you keep explaining your love, proving your worth, shrinking your needs just to make them comfortable. And still, they misunderstand your silence, misinterpret your strength, manipulate your kindness. No matter what you do, it's never enough. And that's because people who drain you don't want to understand you, because if they did, they'd have to change. And people who feed off others never want to change the system. that benefits them. You are not here to be an emotional dumpster for people who refuse to grow. You are not here to be understood by those who never tried. You are not here to keep proving your softness to those who only respond to pain. Royal energy doesn't beg to be understood. It chooses to be protected. Every time you lower your frequency to explain yourself to someone who's not even listening, you lose a piece of your power. Your peace is expensive. Your soul is not up for debate. You don't have to convince someone of your goodness. If they are committed to misunderstanding you, some people need you to be the villain in their story because it justifies their behavior. Let them write their fiction. Your truth doesn't need their approval. You know the kind of people I'm talking about. The ones who drain you and then accuse you of being too sensitive. The ones who never notice your struggle, but always notice your boundaries. The ones who disappear when you need them, but expect you to drop everything when they call. And the saddest part, they'll never see what they took from you, only what you stopped giving. But let this be your power. Walk away, not to prove a point, but to protect your peace. Because understanding doesn't come from noise, it comes from intention. And if someone's never made the effort to truly understand your heart, your silence will teach them what your words never could. You are not too much. You are not too deep. You are just not for those who are shallow. Don't shrink to fit their comfort zone. Rise, speak less, feel more. Guard your energy like your life depends on it. Because it does. Growth requires separation. It's not a punishment. It's a process. You cannot evolve while clinging to people who only know the outdated version of you. The caterpillar must leave the comfort of crawling to become a butterfly. And in that cocoon, it doesn't carry extra weight. It doesn't ask others for permission to change. It separates in silence, in solitude, and transforms. Some people were only meant to be chapters, not the whole story. You outgrow mindsets. You outgrow places. And yes, you outgrow people. But the world will make you feel guilty for choosing your evolution over their comfort. Do not fall for that lie. Just because someone walked with you yesterday doesn't mean they belong in your tomorrow. Growth is a decision, not a consensus. And the higher you go, the quieter it gets. Think about a rocket. As it rises, it sheds parts. Not because those pieces were useless, but because they were only useful for the launch. Once you're in orbit, the extra weight becomes a liability. In life, we often confuse loyalty with stagnation. We stay in friendships that drain us. We stay in jobs that numb us. We stay in relationships that belittle us. All because we fear being alone. But what if that silence you're afraid of is the space your soul needs to breathe? Daily life reminds you of this truth. Imagine going to the gym every day, training hard, eating clean, but hanging out with people who mock your discipline, tempt you with habits you left behind, and discourage your progress. How long before you fall back into old patterns? Growth cannot coexist with constant resistance. You need a circle that aligns, not just exists. Or consider the workplace. You're grinding, staying late, pitching ideas, pushing limits. But you're surrounded by colleagues who gossip, complain, and settle. You start to feel like the problem. But you're not. You're just in a place that no longer feeds your future. That friction you feel, that's the universe telling you, it's time to separate. Growth feels lonely because fewer people are willing to pay the price for excellence. And in love, This one stings the most. Sometimes the person you adore isn't aligned with the person you're becoming. You love them, but your soul is suffocating. You communicate, you compromise, you bend. But at some point you realize you're folding into shapes you don't recognize. That's when the hardest choice becomes the most necessary. To separate so you both can grow. It's not betrayal, it's bravery. People will say, you've changed. That's the point. You're not supposed to stay the same. Trees don't apologize for outgrowing their roots. Seasons don't ask for approval to shift. So why should you? Growth is the silent rebellion. It's saying, I choose more, even when the world says settle. And no, growth isn't glamorous. It's messy. It's nights filled with self-doubt. Mornings when you miss the familiar. Birthdays with fewer calls. Loneliness that whispers, maybe you made a mistake. But every time you question it, remember this. Flowers don't bloom in crowded pots. Muscles don't grow without pressure. Diamonds don't form without isolation. You're not abandoning people. You're answering the call of your higher self. And that version of you is waiting on the other side of discomfort. Not everyone will clap for you. Not everyone will understand. But growth isn't about applause. It's about alignment, separate from what stunts you. From the friend who laughs at your goals. From the relationship that clips your wings. From the routine that keeps you small. The world needs your full power, not your diluted potential. Growth doesn't come when it's easy. It comes when you choose to rise, even if you have to do it alone. Your life is not a courtroom. You don't have to defend every move. You're not on trial every time you choose yourself. You don't need to sit on the witness stand of public opinion and explain why you walked away, why you said no, why you protected your peace, or why you're different now. People will judge you regardless of the evidence. So stop living like you owe them proof. You don't. You don't. I come from Saraja. My parents are Muslim. You can believe whatever you want. You don't have to believe in a single truth that you believe in. You don't have to believe in every single truth. You don't have to believe in every single truth that you believe in. That's why I think every time you try to justify your choices to someone who's already made up their mind about you, you lose a piece of your power. You shrink to fit into their understanding instead of expanding into your truth. People don't need your explanation, they need your example. Let your peace speak louder than your defense. Let your glow make the noise. Let your boundaries be your courtroom exit. In everyday life, it starts small. You decide to stop attending the parties where you don't feel seen. Suddenly, people ask, why are you being so distant? You're not being distant. You're being deliberate. You're not cold. You're just done warming people who bring no fire. But you find yourself explaining, softening, over-justifying. Why? Because you were raised to be agreeable, to be likable. But likability is a cage. And your freedom lives outside of it. Think of that moment when you change your career path. You're leaving a stable job to follow your passion, and suddenly everyone becomes a judge. They want evidence, backup plans, guarantees. You start doubting yourself, not because your dream is weak, but because their doubt is loud. But remember this, vision is lonely because it's yours. No one else has to get it. You don't need their permission slip to chase your purpose. Or maybe you've ended a relationship, a long one that looked perfect from the outside. People say, but you two looked so happy, and you want to scream, happy where? In the photos? But you stay silent, and inside, you crumble, trying to be polite. You don't owe anyone the trauma behind your smile. You don't owe a breakdown to validate your breakthrough. Some decisions are made in silence to protect what's sacred. We're taught to keep everyone comfortable, to explain ourselves until we bleed clarity. But truth doesn't require translation. If your yes makes you bitter, say no. If your no makes others uncomfortable, let them feel it. You were not born to be understood. You were born to be free. And sometimes the price of that freedom is their confusion. Imagine you're working on yourself, healing, learning, growing. You stop replying to messages that don't serve your spirit. People start asking, why are you acting brand new? You're not acting. You are new. And they don't recognize you. Because they've only known the version of you that tolerated their chaos. Now that you've upgraded, they want receipts. But growth doesn't come with explanations. It comes with elevation. And elevation requires separation. You are not a defendant. You are not responsible for everyone's comfort at the cost of your clarity. Stop pausing your growth to attend trials that were never fair. Stop exhausting your soul trying to explain your evolution to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. The moment you realize you don't owe anyone your blueprint is the moment you walk lighter. When people say you've changed, say thank you. Because the version of you who used to beg to be understood is gone. And in her place stands someone who's done living like a prisoner of public perception. You're not guilty for growing. You're not wrong for choosing joy. And you're not on this earth to play small, just to fit into someone else's narrative. Every time you hold back your truth to avoid being judged, you validate the very voices trying to silence you. But not anymore. Let them think what they want. Let them whisper, question, assume. You don't need to explain your healing. You just need to live it. You don't need to narrate your freedom. You just need to walk in it. You've spent too many nights explaining yourself to people who never cared to understand you. You've tried to please the unpleasable, heal the unwilling, and carry the weight of relationships that were never mutual. But now is the time to rise. Not slowly, not timidly, but fiercely, boldly, with the full fire of your unapologetic soul. Because the truth is, silence is not weakness. Distance is not arrogance. And peace is not negotiable. There comes a point in your life when you stop seeking validation and start walking in revelation. You finally understand that not everyone who started with you was meant to stay to the end. Some people were lessons, not lifelong partners. Some were temporary, mirrors to show you your worth through their absence. And when you finally let go of what was never yours to keep, the real you is born. The unstoppable you. The healed you. The powerful you. They'll say, you've changed, and you will smile. Because you were never meant to remain small to keep them comfortable. You weren't born to dim your light so they could shine. You weren't created to break your back building people who wouldn't lift a finger for you. So give them a chance, and they'll save you your face and keep you from your worst feelings to build a future for you. You weren't born to dim your light so they could shine. You weren't born to dim your light so they could shine. You weren't born to build a future for you. You weren't born to build a future for you. You weren't born to build a... You are not here to fit into their broken mold. You're here to break it. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them create their versions of your story. Because your silence now speaks louder than your explanations ever did. Remember this. A queen never defends her throne, she simply reigns. The lion does not. Turn when the small dogs bark. You're not here to answer every question, reply to every rumor, or prove your worth to people who would doubt you even if you walked on water. You're here to rise. You're here to build. You're here to grow so tall that your very presence becomes your power. And yes, it's going to hurt. Growth isn't always pretty. Evolution comes with solitude. There will be birthdays you spend alone, nights when your phone stays silent, and mornings when doubt whispers louder than hope. But I promise you, those moments are sacred, because in that silence, you will hear your own voice again. In that space, you will meet the version of you that doesn't need permission to be powerful. You will start to move different, love different, choose different. Not because you're better, but because you finally know your value. You'll stop chasing people who only come around when they need something. You'll stop fighting battles that drain your spirit. You'll stop giving explanations for boundaries that are rooted in self-respect. And that right there is where your real power begins. Fall in love with taking care of yourself, they say. But I tell you, fall in love with protecting yourself. Fall in love with the art of walking away with grace. The power of closing a door without slamming it. And the beauty of saying nothing when your silence speaks volumes. Protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not everyone qualifies for your presence. Your journey is not a democracy. It's not up for vote. You are the author, the editor, and the publisher of your story. Write it the way your soul desires. Rip out the pages where you kept shrinking. Burn the chapters where you begged to be chosen. And rewrite your life in bold, beautiful ink, where your worth is not up for debate, and your peace is the plot twist no one saw coming. So, walk tall, not because you have something to prove, but because you finally remembered who you are. You are not the apology. You are the miracle. You are not the mistake. You are the breakthrough. And no explanation is needed when your entire existence is the proof that survival is an art. And you, my love, are the masterpiece.